In this video, we're going to discuss about the adolescence, the drug and alcohol abuse in human health and disease. Adolescence. You can see a picture here. This is the childhood age picture and this side it is adulthood. So in between these two stages there is a stage called adolescence. The change from childhood to the adulthood. In between you have a stage. That stage is called adolescence and it also called as teenage also. Adolescence begins with a period of rapid physical sexual development called puberty to maturity at 12 to 19 years of the age. That is a person, that is a child, with the child to the adult, that is physically and sexual development takes place in this stage, and this stage takes place in between 12 to 19 years of the age. Adolescence is also a highly dynamic period of psychological and social changes in individuals. So they are changing from childhood to adulthood. In between period it is called the adolescence. During that time the physical and the sexual development takes place, and it is one of the important period because the psychological and social changes also takes place in our individuals. Adolescents are vulnerable to the group pressure, and many youngsters are pushed into the experiment with drugs and alcohol. So during the adolescent period, that is the adolescent periods, that is the adolescence. Okay, that is the people in between 12 to 19, that is called the teenage. So those will be pressurized by the friends, and it is also a difficult period to them. Okay, so some of them has to experiment some of the bad habits like drugs and alcohol. Proper education and guidance would enable youth to say no to drugs and alcohol and to follow a healthy lifestyle. So we have to give advices and awareness to the adolescents, because most of the adolescents, due to the peer group, that is the friendship, due to the friends group, so they have to experiment with the drugs and the alcohol. So that time the proper advices and guidances has to given to them, and so many programs have also conducted by the governments regarding this adolescent stage period. So that is, they have to say no to drugs and alcohol, and they have to follow a healthy lifestyle. So you can see the injections, that is the drugs and the person using it, the drugs and even the alcohol abuse. So alcohol is a psychoactive drug which acts on the brain, affecting the person's mind and behavior. So you have seen some of the people had after drinking alcohol, they loses their mental ability. So they got affected and the behavior was changed. So it is a depressant which slows down the activity of nervous system. So it deals with the depression. So it makes the person to depressed, and it also activates the nervous system. So the nervous system will slow down and they don't know what they are going to do. The intake of certain drugs for a purpose other than their normal clinical use in an amount and frequency that impair one's physiological and psychological functions is called drug abuse. So if certain drugs are taken, so without, that is other than without the doctor, if the doctor doesn't give, some of the drugs they were taken by their own, so that time they will loses their physiological and psychological frequency will may change. So that is called drug abuse. Without the doctor advice, if you take some of the drugs, they are harmful and they can also lead to the drug addict. That is called drug abuse. The drugs which are commonly abused includes opioids, cannabinoids, alkaloids, barbiturates, amphetamines and LSD. So these are the some of the drugs which is used as abused drugs. So first one, there is the classification of drugs. So classification of drugs: stimulants, amphetamines, cocaine, nicotine, that is nicotine, and tobacco. So the effects of these drugs: accelerate the activity of the brain, depressant, alcohol, barbiturates, tranquilizer, that is slow downs the activity of the brain, narcotic or anesthetics, opium, morphine, act as depressant on the central nervous system. Hallucinogens, that is lysergic acid, diethylamide, LSD, phenylcyanidin. So distorts the way one sees, hears and feels. Stimulant depression, depressant hallucinogen, that is bang, marijuana, ganja, caras, stimulating the action on CNS and affects the cardiovascular system. Opioids, drugs which bind to specific opioid receptor present in the central nervous system and intestinal tract. So opioids, when you take this drug, so it affects the central nervous system and in the intestinal tract it is present. Heroin is chemically diacetyl morphine, which is white, odorless and bitter crystalline compound. Okay, so this is diacetyl morphine, white in color and no smell. So it is odorless and bitter crystalline compound. While seeing it is crystalline form, bitter. When you taste it, it is bitter. So it is obtained by the acetylization of morphine, which is extracted from the flower of poppy plant. So this heroin was obtained from poppy, and how it is obtained means acetylization of morphine. So when you are acetylization, that is when you are taking the acetyl from morphine, that time this product, that is the heroin, will come out. Morphine, one of the strongest painkiller, and it is used during surgery. So it is the most widely abused necrotic drug which acts as a depressant and slow downs the body function. So we all know morphine is the strongest painkiller and it is used in surgeries. So it is a necrotic drug too, and it creates the depressant and slow down the body function. So the body function will be slowed down. So this is the opium seeds. Okay, and cannabinoids. So are the group of chemical obtained from cannabis sativa, an Indian hemp plant. So natural cannabinoids are the main source of marijuana, ganja, hashish and keras. So it interferes in the transport of neurotransmitter dopamine and has a potent stimulating action on CNS, central nervous system, producing increased energy and a sense of euphoria. So this is cannabis sativus plant. Cocaine. So white powder, it is obtained from the leaves of cocoa plant. That is, cocoa plant botanical name is Erythroxylum coca. It is commonly called coke or crack. Cocaine causes serious physical and psychological problems including hallucination and paranoia. So physical and psychological problems and hallucinations, that is there is no person but in your mind there something was there. The hallucination means the thread, that is a twine like structure, that is a thread is there, but for you it looks like a snake. So that is called hallucination. And the other plants with hallucinogenic properties are Atropa, belladonna, and datura. So from this also the halogenic properties can be seen. So this is Atropa, belladonna, and this is datura methyl. So drugs like datura methyl, that is datura methamphetamine, methamphetamines, barbiturates, transcursor, lysergic acid, dimethyl, that is diethylamide LSD, are normally used as medicine to treat the patient with mental illness like depression and insomnia, and are often abused. So these are used, these are given to the patients by doctor to treat the depression. So tobacco is smoked, chewed, and used as a snuff. This we know, the tobacco is smoked, chewed, and snuff used as. So it increases the carbon monoxide content of blood and reduces the concentration of heme bound oxygen. So what happens means, when you taking the tobacco, that is it reduces, that is carbon monoxide in blood, okay, and while increasing, that is carbon monoxide in blood, and the concentration of heme, that is the heme won't bind with oxygen, so that was reduced, so causing oxygen deficiency in the body. Tobacco contains nicotine, carbon monoxide, tars, which causes problems in heart, lung, and nervous system. So when you take the tobacco, in tobacco you have carbon monoxide and tar. Due to this, heart, lung, and nervous system was affected. So the problems was created. Adrenal glands are stimulated by nicotine to release adrenaline and noradrenaline, which increases the blood pressure and heartbeat. We all know the adrenaline and noradrenaline, that is secreted by adrenaline gland. So it is also called as an fight, fright, flight hormones. Okay. So due to that release, so only when we are afraid, only we get accident, only when we have some problems, fight or anything, so that time only this adrenaline has to secrete. But unnecessarily, when you take nicotine, unnecessarily this adrenaline was secreted in your body, means due to that increased blood pressure and heartbeat, increase in heartbeat can occur. Addiction and dependence. Addiction is a physical or psychological need to do or take or use certain substances such as alcohol to the point where it could be harmful to the individual. Addiction. So when you take alcohol, unnecessarily you have to take it. So that means today 9 o'clock you are taking alcohol, means tomorrow you will have to take, like that it will think of it. Nowadays the big problem that alcohol is using phones, the games. So you have to use the phones, you have to see, you have to do, that is also one type of addiction. The people are addicted to some of the games, video games, and some of the mobile games due to that. So that is also one type of addiction. So the addictive behavior can be personally destructive to a person. So addictive, that is one person got addicted, means it is a destructive to a person. So if personally that is you got affected, you got addicted to one thing, so it will affect everything. So you have to do, I want this, I cannot able to live without this, like that it appears. Over time, addicts starts to lose not only their jobs, homes, money, but also friendship, family relationship, and contact with normal world. So due to over addiction, so they have to lose their jobs, homes, and money, and even the friendship also, family relation is also they have to lose. Contact with the normal world is also don't. So some of the alcoholic addict people, they won't like by other people. Addiction to the drugs and alcohol can lead to the psychological attachment to certain effects such as euphoria and temporary feeling of well-being. So drugs and alcohol, that is psychologically they got attached. If they took the alcohol or drugs, they are feeling well. If they are not taking, that is if they are not having that, so they have some of the problems like shivering of the hands, and even that is the mental mood, the mood will be changed, aggressive, like that problem will occur. So this is called that is addiction, and this is called dependence. During that time you will get headaches, so we have to take it like that. Repeated use of drugs and alcohol may affect the tolerance levels of the receptors present in the body. So these receptors then respond only to the highest dosages of the drugs and alcohol, leading to the greater intake and addiction. So use of drugs and alcohol repeatedly you are taking means, so there should be a tolerant level in the body. Okay. So the body has to, that is some of the receptors present in it. So if the receptance, that is the receptors, will respond only the highest dose, not the small dose, it cannot able to adjust with it, the body, because there are some receptors. So highest dosages of drugs and alcohol leading to the great intake and addiction also. When psychological dependence develops, the drug user gets mentally hooked onto the drug. So they are mentally hooked. So psychologically, without the drugs you cannot live. So they are hooked. They need the drugs. So the drug user constantly thinks only about the drug and has continuously uncontrollable craving for it. So the drug user that needs the drug. So how are you going to get? That is the person who was a drug addict. So he is thinking how he going to get a drug. So if he doesn't get the drug, and he thinks he will be dying like that, and all the thing will happen to the person who is a drug addict. So this state called euphoria is characterized by mental and emotional preoccupation with the drug. Physical dependence is a state in which the user's body requires a continuous presence of the drug. So physical dependence is a state in which the user's body require a continuous presence of drugs. So physically he is thinking that he need a drug continuously. If the intake of drugs or alcohol is abruptly stopped, he or she would develop withdrawal symptoms. So the intake, that is if you are taking the alcohol and drugs that was suddenly stopped, means there are some of the symptoms. In a sense, the body becomes confused and protest against the absence of the drug. So the body becomes confused. It doesn't know that person didn't get the drug. That means what happened? Our body had some problems. No, that is working in the absence of a drug oppositely. So the withdrawal symptoms may range from mid tremors to convulsions. That is, tremors means shivering like storm. That is the person cannot able to stand. Severe agitation and fits. So there is an agitation and fits will be there. Depressed mood, anxiety, nervousness, restlessness, irritability, insomnia, dryness of throat, etc. So depending on the types of drug abuse, that is what are type of drugs you are taking, that type of symptoms will be shown here. Effects of drugs and alcohol. Short-term effects appears only for a few minutes after the intake of drug and alcohol. So few minutes after the intake of drug and alcohol. So the abuser feels a few false senses of well-being and a pleasant drowsiness. So when the drug, that is, it was last for only few minutes. So that time the person who is taking the drug, it has a false, he is well. So he is well, and so after that he feels drowsiness. Some short-term effects and or euphoria, pain, dullness of senses, alteration in behavior, blood pressure, necrosis, nausea and vomiting. So these are the effects. Drugs and alcohol have long-term effect that lead to serious damages because of the constant and excessive use. So drugs and alcohol have long-term effect. So they have long-term, and due to this constant and excessive use of it, it causes a big damage. It will be serious too. So you can see the drug abuse, due to that the person can get so many problems. Okay, and these problems that can that is eye problem can occur, a kidney can affect, and even the intestinal problem can occur, that is ulcer, and even the liver problems, and the brain got affected, that is the mental hygienic was disturbed, the lung, while smoking you get cancer, like cancer, the heart attacks will appear, and even the tooth will also decay, and even the DNA will also change due to these things. The physical and mental disturbance makes the life of the user unbearable and that is tortuous. So physical and mental disturbance takes place due to this. For example, heavy drinking permanently damage the liver and the brain. So the liver and the brain got damaged. The use of alcohol during adolescence may have long-term effects. So they have, that is use of alcohol in adolescent stage, that has long-term. After that you will get so many problems in the from regarding to your body. So alcohol scar tissue grows in the place of dead cells. So okay, that is sorry, alcohol interferes with the ability of the liver to break down fat. So that is the liver to break down the fat, that is one of the problem. Over time fat accumulation and high levels of alcohol destroy the liver cells, and a scar tissue grows in the place of dead. So the liver was that is most of the alcohol leads to the liver problems, and the liver is destroyed. There you can see a scar tissue too. So the scanning, that is the scarring of liver, is called liver cirrhosis. Alcohol irritates the stomach lining due to the production of excess acid, leading to ulcers. Excessive alcohol use weakens the heart muscle, causing scar tissue to build up in cardiac muscle fibers. As a result, heavy drinkers have to increase the risk of high blood pressure, stroke, coronary artery disease, and heart attack. Korsakoff syndrome, a chronic memory disorder, is most caused by the alcohol misuse. Alcoholism is the inability to control drinking due to physical and emotional dependence on alcohol. Treatment involves counseling by a healthcare professional. Detoxification program in hospital or medical facility is an option for those who need additional assistance. So medications are available to reduce the desire to drink and smoke. Prevention and control. So it is practically possible to prevent someone from using drugs and alcohol. So it is using someone from drinking alcohol. That is, you can practice to prevent someone from drinking alcohol and drugs, taking drugs. So here are some of the ways that help to prevent the drug and alcohol abuse. Effective dealing with the peer pressure. So the biggest reason for teens to start on drugs is due to their friend or peer groups imposing pressure on them. Hence, it is important to have a better group of friends to avoid such harmful drugs and alcohol. Seeking help from parents and peers. Help from parents and peer group should be sought immediately so that they can be guided appropriately. Help even by be sought from close and trusted friends. Getting proper advice to sort out their problems would help the young ones to vent their feelings of anxiety and guilty. So the parents and the peer has to give the guidances, and they have to give proper advices also. Education and counseling. So education and counseling creates positive attitude to deal with many problems and to accept disappointments in life. So some of the people, they cannot able to they win in some of that time also, they can go to take drugs, like drugs and alcohol. And the education and counseling, it also create positive attitude to that is when they are in problems or disappointment in life, how they have to handle it. So looking for danger signs. The teacher and parents need to look for the signs that indicate tendency to go in for addiction. So they have to they have to monitor the children's, that is the monitor the teenage people, that's teachers and parents. So if there is any wrong signs of the person is seen, means so they are leading to the addiction, so that have to find out, and you have to give advice to the person, that is the teenager who is taking the drugs. Seeking professional and medical assistance. So the assistance is available in the form of a highly qualified psychologist and psychiatrist, and he did addiction and rehabilitation programs to help the individuals to overcome the problems. If the person was completely addicted, you have to prevent him, and you have to take to the treatment. So psychologist and psychiatric was there to overcome all the problems. Okay, so alcohol, that is anonymous, was started in 1935 by a businessman and a doctor who had been an hopeless drunk for many years. After the men helped each other to stop drinking and to see sober, they then founded the Alcoholic Anonymous to help other alcoholics. Since the time, Alcohol Anonymous has spread throughout the world. So he is the man who bring the Alcohol Anonymous, because to get the persons who are alcoholic, who are taking so much of alcohol, to prevent that he had campaigned this, he had formed this also. Hope you understand the topic. If you have any doubts, post the doubts in the comment box. If you want to watch the video in Tamil, I had given the link in the description box. You can go and watch it. Give a thumbs up, share and subscribe to Science Easy Tech channel.